Welcome to Creative Pages with Catherine Live. I'm here with sketch number 2 from the December 2022 Creative Memories Virtual Crop. And I'm going to be working with polar lights for this challenge. So let me get the camera switched over so that way you all can see what I'm going to be working on. Here we go. So this sketch is a little bit busier, and I actually have added a little bit more paper than I traditionally do, in part because I did have some polar light scraps I wanted to use up, and in part I just could not make the sketch look nice without adding a little bit more. So I'm going to hold this up so that way if you want a screenshot of my measurements, you can get them, and I will also explain as I go along what I've done. And you can see here already, there's a lot going on here. I started with 2 sheets of navy cardstock as my base for this layout. And then on each end, I have 1¼ inches by 12-inch strips. I essentially used 3 sheets of designer paper and 3 sheets of cardstock. But this is essentially the back side of this. And then I had the scrap of this one. So the back side of that one is the stars. So here we go. Let me go ahead and start putting things down, and I will explain as I go along what I've done and where I'm leaving extra spaces. So starting at the left side of the left page, I have 1¼ inches by 12 inches here. And that's just going all the way here on the left. I kind of liked the idea of having some of this dark and light contrast. And in the sketch, you can see where there's definitely dark they don't necessarily match, but there was a sheet here. You could tell this was one designer sheet. And so I did a 10 by 12 piece and a 2 by 12 piece from the same sheet. And that is what is under all this other stuff here. Let me move some of these other things out of the way. And that way you can see I've even pulled out some of my stickers already. And here we go. So this is my 10-inch piece that I cut. And it's the one with the snowflakes on the back. So you can see I mimicked and I used 2 of the same sheets of designer paper for this layout. Like I said, I kind of wanted it complimentary, and I thought that actually did make it complimentary. So let me separate this just a little bit, get this over here because I want to line this up with the edge of the 12-inch sheet of navy cardstock. And like I said, I don't usually put this many layers on the cardstock, but I just couldn't figure out any other way with this layout to do it. So the other thing I did also was I did cut several mats, and I did 4 6x4 or 4x6 of the one that was from the same paper, but I wanted the snowflakes showing up, and this one I kind of wanted it a little bit over and layering down the page here a bit. So we're kind of breaking things up a little bit, but also keeping it cohesive and putting it back together a little bit as well. I know, just bear with me. Sometimes my creative energy gets a little bit into overdrive, and I was really worried this one was just going to wind up way too busy. And then with the last sheet of navy cardstock, I cut mats out of this as well that were also 4x6. And so I have, I'll pull in the sketch here in just a moment, because it can be a little confusing, and I want to make sure I explain it right as well. So I'm just going to go ahead, and these are 4x6, and I'm going to go ahead and put this one kind of coming over from here. So it's kind of very geometric is how it winds up finishing here. So this one's 4x4, and the other 2 are 4x6 on this page. And you can even take and put pictures going this way on your mat, or you can change your photos and put them even this way as well, and kind of cut through the center of this piece as well, just to give you an idea of what is happening here. So thank you, Marion, for the thumbs up on my audio. I appreciate it. I did sound check again a lot just to make sure, but it's always nice to have that extra confirmation once I get going here to know that things are broadcasting the way I hoped that they would. And let me pull these things off of here. And so this is the other 2 by 12 inch strip that was from the other part of this 10-inch piece that was the base on the left side of the page. And so now we're going to put this at the left end of the navy cardstock here. And then what I've done here is, let me pull back in the sketch, is you could kind of see where it almost looks like there was just pieces and stripes and pieces. And I really fussed around with these strips and pieces a lot. And I realized that I just kind of needed to make it a little bit more almost. So this one was that 2-inch strip. This was a 3.5 by 12. And then this one is 2 3/4 by 12. The banner piece here is 2 inches by 5 3/4. And I did use our 5-in-1 ribbon tag punch on it that came in one of the secret boxes. But you can, I've shown several ways in some of my other videos how to cut it. You can fold it in half and cut up towards the middle. You can cut up the middle and cut it towards the ends. There's several ways to cut a banner. I just punched it. It was just easier for me and the time I was doing it. And then of course, this one is also the 1 1/4 by 12. I'm going to go ahead and put this one down first. And I just pulled the wrong tape runner. So let me just redo that real quick here. There we go. That was my repositionable, not the regular one. But that's why I wrote on them, was so that way I would know. And then I didn't pay attention because I was so busy talking and looking at this busy sketch that we have here. So this one is going underneath this other piece a little bit, but it's also over. So it's about maybe another 1.25 inches from that you're seeing from this other one that you're seeing the navy in between. And then this one is just going to layer over just a little bit, but I'm actually going to put some tape on my banner because I want to make sure I have the banner in the right place before I put the other one down. So I'm leaving about maybe a 1/2 inch here of what you're seeing of the navy coming down here in between these 2 pieces of paper over on this side of the layout. Sorry about that. I was just thinking I needed to move to the left, and then Marion commented that if I could please move to the left. So there we go. So you have the 2 inches here, 1.25 inches here, and there's about 1/4 inch, well, about a 1/2 inch in between there. I can actually, let me just pull out my ruler to confirm for y'all. Okay, where's my zeros there? Yep, a 1/2 inch. So, and then this one I'm going to layer over, but I'm going to leave about a 1/2 inch as well on this other side of my banner. Whoops. And then of course I'm going to knock it out over. So then I've got to re-straighten it. But there we go. Okay. So about a 1/2 inch on either side where the navy's showing through. And this one was our 2 3/4. This one was 3.5, but you can see we kind of layered over our 3.5 a little bit. So there is that. So far, so good. And put my ruler back real quick here. And then we have all of these other pieces to put on here. And these are, I rearranged things a bit because I like to actually see the photos, of course, which is the whole idea of our doing the scrapbook pages in the first place. So this one, this right page, the left page only had 3 and the right page only had 3, but I've already showed you how you can add a couple of more to this left side. On this right side, I did add an extra mat. So I cut 4x6 of the snowflake. And so 2 are on this right side and 2 were coming down the left side. I cut 2 4x6 of the navy cardstock, and those are both on the left side here. And then I cut 3 4x4 of the navy cardstock as well. I have one here on this lower left and 2 on this right side that I still need to put down. So let me go ahead and start sticking some of these down and make sure that I'm actually still on the camera for y'all. There we go. And sometimes I flip it and sometimes I don't. You don't necessarily need to flip it if you've got the cardstock, but of course with our papers you do, since they're all double-sided on our patterned papers. And here we go. So that's maybe about 1/4 of an inch on to this right side of the paper here, the designer paper. And then this one is going to go in between these other 2. And like I said, it winds up being very geometric and kind of different than what I normally do. I usually like to keep it simple and not have too many layers of paper. But looking at this sketch, this was how it kind of spoke to me. So this is my interpretation of it. If you want to simplify it a little bit more, you certainly can. Okay, so now for my embellishments, I've picked the hot cocoa weather, and I thought that would be cute on this side. I think I did, let me grab my multi-purpose tool. Originally, I had this other thing over a little bit more, and I think I'm going to do that still because I want my picture to not be covered with the embellishment. So I need to make sure I have space for the embellishment and space for the picture here. There we go. So there's that. And then I also pulled this other little hot chocolate cup that's going to go here in the navy space there. And I am going to grab foam squares because that's what we do here. It always makes things, I'm going to put our little sign up here higher. And then I am not going to pop up the hot chocolate because I think it just settles in with the navy behind it very nicely. Pull the back off of those. And here we go. So that's going over here, over part of our banner. And they do, on the sketch, have that here as well. But they also had the picture tucked under the other picture. And we've done it before where we have layered some of them under, but I thought we could make it work where we didn't have to this time. So let me grab my parchment board and my repositionable this time. So then that way my tape won't be gooping up anything. The ones that don't come on to the embellishments stay in the tape runner, which is nice. There we go. There's our hot chocolate. And then on this left side, I'm going to actually put this one back under just a little bit so that way I can make sure that I'm on the camera well for you all. On this left side, okay, I pulled out these surf stickers. So I pulled out this little burr, and then there was a couple of other, like, I don't know, coffee and hot chocolate. And I liked how the lighter one looked there and the darker one looked over here, down here. Yep. And then I took our piece that punched out from our banner, because if you'll remember, I had originally a 2" by 5 3/4" piece here. So what punched out of our banner was this. And on the sketch, it shows that they have actually another banner coming off this left side. And I'm like, I don't have space for another banner to come off my left side. So we are going to use the scrap that came off of the banner, and I'm going to kind of just match it in a little bit to the pattern down here and adhere it that way. I am going to use the repositionable tape and just go ahead, because I figure if I put it on, I might need to move it just a little, but this way so it doesn't look quite so odd. But there is a little bit of a maybe about a 1/2 inch that's kind of straight here. So I'm kind of trying to line up the straight part with the edge that's running down and putting that there. So that way we kind of still have, I guess, a little bit of a reverse banner maybe coming off the bottom of a flag. Is a flag what's the reverse of a banner? Probably. Well, that's what I'm calling it anyways. You can call it what you want to call it. So I'm going to add my little hot chocolate with the marshmallows down here. I'm just going to go ahead and add my coffee cup over here. And then I'm going to grab one more foam square for underneath my Burr sign, because we're probably going to wind up putting winter pictures on this layout. So here we go. Here is our 2-page layout. Once I get some of this stuff cleared off of my desk, I should be able to fit the whole thing on the camera, maybe, unless I have my angle a little bit too tight, which I might. But I will hold up the left side closer to the camera, so this way you all can see what I put together here. And maybe you can read the Burr and maybe you can't. There we go. If I get a little closer, you can actually read it. And the right side here, we have the hot cocoa weather, we have our snowflakes, and we have our pine needles. Kind of just repeating through, and I did like the idea of having the pine needles with the pine tree paper. I just thought it all went together nicely. So there, that is it for sketch number 2. And here again was the actual sketch. So let me switch myself back over here. There we go. I probably won't be on again for a couple of nights, but I will continue with sketch number 3, hopefully on Wednesday night or Wednesday afternoon. You will see that. Maybe I can even get a couple of done then, but I will continue through the rest of the crop. And they've already put out a bonus sketch. So that's what I get for being behind. I'm really behind now. So I hope you all enjoyed seeing this layout, and you are very welcome. I'm glad you liked it, and I will be back with the next one in a couple of days. Until next time.